Welcome to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein, talking about the evolutionary, the revolutionary, the inspiration and the perspiration, and those aha moments that change everything. And now, here's your host, Rich Goldstein.
Rich Goldstein here, host of the Innovations and Breakthroughs podcast, where I feature top leaders and the path they took to create change. Past guests include Ryan Dice, Joe Polish, and Jason Fladlin. This episode is brought to you by my company, Goldstein Patent Law, where we help you to protect your ideas and products. We've advised and obtained patents for thousands of companies over the past 29 years. So if you're a company that has software, a product, or a design you want protected, go to goldsteinpatentlaw.com, where there are amazing free resources for learning about the patent process. And you can schedule a call with my team at speaktolarry.com to explore if it's a match to work together. You could also check out the book I wrote for the American Bar Association that explains in plain English how patents work. It's called the ABA Consumer Guide to Obtaining a Patent. I have with me here today David Fairley. David is the founder and president of Website Properties, an online business brokerage that sold over $650 million in sales in businesses. And prior to that, David also established a hammock import business that eventually became hammocks.com and later sold to a billion-dollar company. And that was just the first of 20 online businesses that he would create and sell. And so with that experience and that background, I'm really happy to welcome here today David Fairley. Welcome, David.
Thanks, Rich. Great to be here.
Absolutely. So yeah, let's talk about how you got started as an entrepreneur, and what those first experiences were like.
Oh, well, I guess how far do you want to go back? I think I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. Just grew up, I grew up on the prairies, and so we had winters with 4 feet of snow. So there was lots of snow plowing and driveway cleaning, and then of course summer. I spent a lot of time cutting lawns and doing gardening and weeding and stuff like that. That was my initial foray. It started at home, and then I kind of ventured out. But I think I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. As regarding, where it led me to at this point, in the 90s, I had been importing hammocks. I'd done some traveling and came across the Mayan hammocks when I was overseas, actually in Australia. And when I came back, I ended up going down and started importing those. And so I did that in the early 90s. And then when the internet came along, I really jumped on quickly. I saw the opportunity to avoid going to trade shows and malls and repeating the same thing again and again at concerts and festivals and fairs. And so the internet was really sort of just a wonderful opportunity to just take off. And so that's how I got online. That was around 1996, so it was pretty relatively early. The Wild West. I also got into a bunch of domains early, eventually getting hammocks.com. And it just took off. I was lucky, good timing, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But
I love those early e-com stories. So I'd love to hear about that, about starting an e-com business back in the 90s.
Yeah, I was
like the Gary V of hammocks.
Well, I mean, I'm it's interesting. Even after being online for 30 years, I'm still technically not very savvy. So I had to lean on a couple friends that were somewhat knowledgeable, and they ended up building my first website and getting me on Yahoo and some of the other search engines. But I think things really took off at one point when I did acquire the name hammocks.com. It was like 2.5 years in, but it just really was such a branding opportunity. It's IP as well, so I trademarked that and immediately got picked up in a few magazines. And one of the big breakthrough was I got picked up in Men's Health magazine, and 31 best places to have sex. And they opened up the magazine in the middle, and it was a centerfold of a pretty girl in a Mayan hammock, and with hammocks.com and the 800 number, and it just like that really proved the value of acquiring that name. I think I did $100,000 in February, which is an off month for hammocks back at that time. So it was a wild ride, let's just to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. So then you exited that business and you went on to create a bunch of other businesses. Like what do you feel like were the ones that really taught you something that is valuable to what you're doing now, working with other businesses on their exits?
Well, the first one really, exiting from hammocks.com. I mean, I literally went out to find a broker that could handle the deal. And at the time, no one really had a clue of the fundamentals of online businesses. And so I ended up hiring a couple of people. They didn't work out. I paid them money up front, and that went nowhere. So I decided to represent myself. And so that was the first lesson. It was, in the end, it was a tough lesson. I got outdone by a company that had better resources and lawyers. And, that was, I think, the lesson of that was just, to have good advice and people around you, because you only know what you know. And so there's lots of pitfalls out there. And, long story short, I felt like I didn't get what I should have for the deal on the front end or the back end. But what it did do is it inspired me to just go out and I started picking up a lot of latent sites. It was right around the time that Google came out and AdSense. We had the AdSense program rolled out, and I was really quickly to jump on that. So I started buying latent content sites back in the day when, these things were sitting around for 5 years or sometimes longer, and they just had great content. So I started buying those and monetizing those with AdSense and affiliate clicks, ClickBank stuff. And so then, from there, I just started buying and holding and selling every year. I'd hold 6 months to 18 months and flip those and sell those. And that went on for a few years. And, I just got a lot of experience selling. And then other colleagues and friends started asking me to do it. And that kind of turned into Website Properties, formerly started around 2005. And since then, as you mentioned, we've done over, 650 deals, or 500 to 600 deals and 650 million in gross sales. So that first deal was probably the most, I think I got a lot out of that. And the main thing that I got out of it was that's a drive to help other entrepreneurs that were sincere, hardworking, and built something, not have the type of exit that I had, that you feel like you had some regret with it. It was basically, that was, I think, the driver for the why of why, get out of bed and help people. Is just I want them to avoid the pitfalls and optimize their exit that they deserve for all the hard work, so that's how it led me here to this point.
Got it. And so I guess that's kind of something that you see as a trend, is that people often go through a transaction that they're initially excited about, and then at some later point they think, well, maybe I could have done better if I had just blank. And it sounds like you're a big proponent of having people with experience to be there with you on that journey.
I think so. The main thing is just to have a sounding board of someone that's got years and years of experience doing what you're going to do, and you may do once or twice in your life. And a lot of times it's a huge life-changing experience, especially if you're selling a significant size business at 7 or 8 figures. Even 6 figures is a lot of money to most people. So, it's something you have to take seriously, and you want to provide guidance that helps people, set themselves up for success and not regret. Timing is everything. And the thing that we often do with people is just make sure that they're in the right frame of mind, because you have to be clear that you're done and that you don't have the energy to go back. Sometimes, you shouldn't second guess I think your gut feeling. Most people that come to the conclusion that they want to sell, I found over the years that if they go forward with that instinct, they usually do the best. If they question that and they second guess their instinctual sort of knowingness, it often they try and time it, and they end up on the other side of the bell curve, and it's trying to fire sell a deal. So yeah, a lot of it's just timing and knowing, being clear with yourself. I think it's not like I think most entrepreneurs are confident once they built a business that's worth something, that they can do it again quicker and better. And just like me, I had to always rein in my ideas. There was always too many to pursue at one time. So
yeah.
That I think that's a common thing that I see with other entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it sounds that that part of it is a lot of entrepreneurs aren't really clear that they are ready to exit, and so it's a matter of like assessing whether they've got a plan for what they're doing next, or even confidence that they're going to, they're going to do it again, that they're going to take another one of their ideas and turn it into something. Or
I think it's important for people to have an exit strategy already in mind before you start a business. Like I'm gonna put in 5 years, 3 to 5 years, and or whatever it is, and then I'm gonna sell it and move on to something else. There's also other personalities that all they do is build, and they create a portfolio. That's a whole other different type of mindset, because you have to be pretty good at operations and be organized and stuff like that. But I think that you have to be. I think if you start with, I'm going to exit, my end goal is to exit and have a nice capital gains and something as a nest egg, then you have to, then you prepare better at the beginning. You actually create a better foundation, and you protect your IP. You make sure that your books are good. You make sure that you don't have one customer that takes up more than 20% of your revenue. All these things that build value, and you have good people that work for you or that can facilitate any new owner, like it's turnkey, they're contracted out, those things in place. Those type of relationships are super important as well.
Yeah, like I guess the things that make the business transferable in terms of
Yeah.
the IP and the having customers, a customer list that isn't necessarily concentrated on a couple of key customers, or customers that are there because the owner is there but won't necessarily stick around after that, or
Yeah.
having that in place.
Yeah. I think it's more the idea of like making yourself obsolete with the
Mhm.
business. Like, you're not important. You've built everything so that it can run with or without you. And that's really the ideal position to be in. But I think when you go out on your own to build a business to begin with, I don't think people get excited about that, but then they become slave to the business. And I think really what you want to create is, you want to create a business to give you more freedom. And so you got to find something that's going to allow you to do that and protect that along the way, so that it's easier to sell.
Yep, absolutely. And so, like, what are some of the ingredients to success, or a successful exit? Like, what are some of the things that that entrepreneurs should have in mind as they think of putting their or getting their business ready to be on the market and ready to exit?
Sure. Well, as I said, and number one is just good organized books, because I think in any successful transaction you have to be transparent, and it's hard to be transparent if you don't have clear reconciliations with your financials and your tax returns and your bank statements and stuff like that. So that's number one. Number two, I think you have to have a business that has some sort of moat around it. It's got some barriers to entry. It's not terribly generic. You're fighting everyone else, on Amazon, every Chinese manufacturer in the country. I think it's important to do that. And you may have product that is in a competitive niche, but it's about how well have you done the branding? How well have you protected do you have any, do you have your name trademark? Do you have patent? Is it patentable, or do you have technology that's really unique? Software, things how automated is the business? I mean, it's just those are the things that are really people are looking for. Branding's huge. Also the consistency of the revenues and the margins. Now, no one wants like, everyone's looking to buy a business that's going to give them cash flow. The cash flow that coming from the corporate world, that's going to replace what they're making in the corporate world without all the stress. So I think you have to it's about, to prepare your business. You want to make sure that you are mitigating your expenses, unnecessary expenses, and just trying to really run a well-oiled machine that you can pass on, and it's not geographically limited. That's the other thing. Why I'm focused on online businesses, and why I've been focused on online businesses primarily, is just because it's, there's buyers and sellers around the world. We've got clients in every country, most continents and every country.
No one wants to move to your town and run your factory. Like
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's a huge component of like what makes these things so attractive, is that they're 24/7 typically. Sales are 24/7. You don't have to have a lot of employees. You can work remotely, so you can either stay on your 10-acre property like I do, or live on a beach and surf and do like be a traveling nomad, digital nomad, like a lot of them are. It just gives you a lot of, I think, versatility. But again, it's just a well-run business that has got some moats around it, good product mix, diversification of channels. There's a lot of people that want to buy Amazon businesses because they have it's easy to consolidate and aggregate that way. But that's only one channel. Amazon's enormous, but you want to have a way of owning your customers and diversifying into maybe starting with the Shopify site that you can advertise on social media, not just on Amazon, and you can maybe
have your customer list.
Yeah, you have
your customer list. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the one sort of thing about Amazon businesses that were the sort of the hidden flaw, was that you don't own your customer at the end of the day. Amazon does, and they have all your data, and they know what products are doing well, what categories are doing well. So you have to just be mindful about that. Anyway, we kind of went all over the place with that answer.
Yeah, but it's true. I mean,
yeah.
I think that's a good insight there in terms of channels and kind of opening with a channel where you really have the best or most direct access to your customers, like through a Shopify site.
Yeah, it's just the fact, like, you can have everything. You can have both. You can have, like, there's a lot of people that start with a Shopify site and then they set up on Amazon, but with Amazon you got to be careful, because if you've got products and you've got a brand and you've done it well and you trademark it, then you can get it gated, and what's called a gated listing on Amazon. So that protects you from other people knocking your product off and using your images and all that stuff. And patents go even further now. We've spoken with another patent attorney that's worked for a couple of our clients, and they have become very aggressive on Amazon, and Amazon will actually freeze the money from a seller that's abusing their the product things, and actually give that money to the seller or to the attorney. So I think there's some interesting things there that are protecting. It's just better in my mind to do whatever you can to protect your business as far as you can, with whether it's if you've got unique products and stuff like that. So but yeah, it's definitely important to diversify, like anything. It's just good strategy, so you don't have all your eggs in one basket. That's common sense business practices.
Well, what's the lead time that you typically look for before someone is looking to exit, to start the conversation about getting things together? Like, is it if someone wants to exit, let's say a year from now, is that the right time to approach you and talk to you about it? Or if someone wants to exit 2.5 years from now, is that too early to begin a conversation about setting up for exit?
I don't think it's ever too early to have the conversation. I mean, people come to us when they're thinking about listing, like in the next 3 to 6 months or right now. Certainly there's a lot of people that will ask us, they're in the early stages of either setting up or thinking about an exit. So they might be 2 or 3 years out. We're happy to provide guidance, and just this kind of information that we're conversing over right now is super valuable. It's just like building a skyscraper. If you don't have a strong foundation, that thing's going to blow over. Like, you just have to think about it. You're building something you want to have longevity with. You want to have it solid, so you take these steps. But we're happy to have conversations with people that are a year out, or even a couple of years out is fine. They could already be at a cycle where they're doing 7 figures a year, and they've got an aspiration to get to have an exit at some number, and what do they need to get there? So any of those, we'll talk to people that will come back to us 3 or 5 years later and sell. So this is a business of relationships and building a network based on the sincere desire to help and to provide some sort of value. So that's sort of our purpose-driven model. So we're happy to have those conversations and help other entrepreneurs, because I think that's genuine, authentic kind of business drive that I would want someone else I'm gonna go to get mentored. I want them to think the same way. So we try to apply the same type of philosophy with people that are approaching us for assistance or guidance, or ultimately to broker their business, which is a life-changing event typically. So we take it really seriously.
So in essence, it's never too early to begin those conversations, and it pays to really start having conversations with people that are experienced, having gone through this process before, and that could help you to to set up your business in the right way for exit. And I love the phrase that good exit strategy is just good business strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the thing is, most people are looking at they're going to look at your most current 3 years revenue. So you've got you want to make sure that those data points are looking strong. The fundamentals are based in the financials. And so if you've got a business that's doing very well, so, since 2020, 21, 22, and it's trailing 12 is doing well, like that's a trend that people are going to get excited about. They're going to see, okay, I'm going to get I'm going to get a 30% or a 40% return on investment. If everything, holds the same, and these, you have to do your due diligence on a business, but that's kind of what people are looking at. So, and yeah, it's just
cool. Well, awesome. And so if people want to learn more about you or get in touch with you, David, how do they go about doing so?
They can go to websiteproperties.com. That's we have lots of content there, our listings. They can see how we present, and they can learn about the process there. They can reach out to me on LinkedIn or at Fairley at websiteproperties.com as well. But happy to provide any guidance we can to anyone that's in the process or close to the point of when they want to start understanding their valuation of their business, and maybe the time to exit is coming up closer than they think. Sometimes you get your business appraised. It's like, oh God, I want to. The time is now. So, but yeah, we're happy to have those conversations. So
awesome. Well, David, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. Really appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure, Rich. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web at innovationsandbreakthroughs.com, and we'll see you next time.